What's up guys, I'm Chase, Griffin's behind the camera. This is our M3 CS, and ever since we reviewed it, people have been asking how does it compare to the M5 CS, the F90. We hadn't driven that until now, so we're gonna run through a comparison on our driver's guide, step by step, starting with the engine, which is possibly the biggest difference on paper, and then we'll conclude at the end of the video with what's our favorite M Sedan of all time. It is one of these two. All right, let's go for a drive.
Oh, unlock it, unlock it.
See you later.
All right, while this engine warms up, we're warming up the 4.4 liter V8 from the M5 comp, but this one's putting out 627 horsepower. That is about, what, 80 more horsepower than the M3 CS.
Yep.
Oh man, that definitely goes.
Definitely goes.
No joke.
Especially
there.
for a 5 Series sedan.
Yeah, for a big old
luxury saloon.
Yeah, and this is the thing that we were most interested in right out of the gate. We knew both cars would drive well, but
yeah,
you know, a V8 compared to an inline 6, this had to be better.
Yeah,
and it certainly has like that sound characteristic you want.
Yeah,
I think the main question though, compared to the M3 CS, it's 80 more horsepower, but the car is heavier.
Right.
So is it actually faster?
Control. Ash flags. Oh my god. Holy shit. For our times.
Wow. 2.95 seconds. Mash. Extra launch factor.
Both are clean.
Wow. Okay, so we're at 3.15.
Okay. The M5 launch was jarring. It was ridiculous.
It was
shocking how fast this was off the line, even though it was 2/10 at the end.
Yeah.
It was meaningful, those 2/10.
The problem though is that in practice, what we've noticed is that it's not necessarily faster than the M3 CS rolling. Whenever Chase was in front of me in the M3 CS, I could notice when he's hitting it, and yes, there's a delay, and he would be in front of me, but I couldn't catch up. I couldn't close the gap no matter what I did timing-wise.
And I continued to gain until we were, you know, safely above, say, 100 miles an hour. That's when I think the horsepower of this engine and the torque really started to outperform the 6-cylinder in the M3. So I think what that will translate to is on the track and coming out of corners, mid-speed corners, you're not going to be able to just reel the M3 in with the M5.
That is the meaning, right?
It's going to come down to corners, and so especially on technical tracks, I think the M3 is going to have a massive advantage. We'll get into that later.
Yeah.
But bottom line, this engine, it does perform better, especially on launch. That was the most noticeable, 0 to 60. At really high speeds, it is noticeable, but mid-range, I think we were both surprised to find it is not as big of a step above the M3 that we thought and hoped it would be. And I think 5 years ago, it was ridiculous, but now they've just closed the gap to a point where it's sort of a give or take, and you're gonna need to focus on the rest of the car's attributes to make a decision on what you want, and it's a small advantage to the M5.
But a V8's always going to sound better than an inline 6.
It does sound
to most people.
Marginally better.
It does have a better sound characteristic, so let's be clear on this. The M5 CS, and this could be a positive aspect for some people, is much quieter in the cabin, and the engine and exhaust note are a lot quieter, which means you can't hear as much of the V8 as you want without modifying the car.
Which I think would be sick.
Yeah, that would be really sick.
That would be sick.
But what we did do was, because like, you know, in our other video with the M3CS, you know, we weren't stoked on the sound, but it does sound pretty good for what it is. Last night we used Bimmer code to turn off the active sound design. We're about to try turning off the active sound design so that we can open the exhaust flaps without the speakers being involved, and seeing if we like that. Bimmer code app.
OBD link what?
And the OBD link.
This is classic Griffin.
Watch your head.
It's gonna take 5 minutes. Diagnostic mode
activated. Play hacker music. All right, after a little bit of tinkering, we had to go into Bimmer code, deactivate the module, the active sound design module, and delete or deactivate the activation code. Deactivate the activation code. Yeah, okay, so now it kind of sounds like a mix of when the button is off
it's halfway.
And when the button's on. So it's like not quite as loud, but you hear more engine noise.
Oh, did you hear that little turbo spool?
And you're hearing turbo spool now.
All right, now we just need a new exhaust. Okay, we need your help. Comment what exhaust we should put on this car, and the comment with the most likes, that's what we'll put on, because we have no idea, but it needs something. We're gonna keep it.
It can't be too loud for the track.
We want to be able to go to track.
Yeah.
So it either needs to be valved.
Yeah, it needs to be valved or
something modest, like not a straight pipe.
Yeah, it is so much better.
Yeah, it's better. It's not louder, but it's just real.
It's more real. You get more of the characteristics of the engine in harmony with the exhaust, and it's still pretty loud. Like you don't need the ASD or active sound ASD to enjoy the sound.
No.
And because you know it's all real, it's so much more gratifying.
The biggest difference in sound for me is on the exterior of the car. When you hear an M5 drive away and that V8 exhaust, that note sounds noticeably better than the M3CS in the 6-cylinder.
I'm gonna say something I never thought I would say. The inline six sounds better than this to me, just because it's not. This isn't there. We'll let you guys be the judge. We'll show you some pullaways. The M3 is louder even on the outside, so it's a little bit more. Let's say it's more fun. It's more fun. The M3 is louder on the outside. Better. Yep. One thing we noticed with the Bimmer code thing was that when you turn off the ASD, you get rid of the shift noise. And what the M5 CS does better for sure is it's a little bit more comfortable. And part of that is like the shifts are all a little bit slower and smoother. But what we realized was that without the shift noise in the M3 CS, you don't get the sensation of it kicking like a DCT anymore. Like your brain was being tricked by the sound to think it was more aggressive. It still kicks harder than this.
Yeah, it does. But with faster shifts. Yeah,
it's got faster shifts.
The M3.
But it's not as aggressive. The sound was part of it. Now they're both the same ZF8 or relatively the same transmission. They're both ZF8 transmissions. We'll just leave it at this. The M3CS has the option with the iDrive system or whatever it's called to reduce the shift aggressiveness or speed, and when you do that, its middle setting is like the M5's third or highest setting. So it's kind of a moot point. The M3 has the option to be like this or more aggressive,
like one notch faster. Which I think is fun. I think the M5CS is I think that's maybe a negative on the M5. Really quickly, the driver's position, it's basically the same as the M3. Obviously this cabin's a little bit bigger. You've got a bit of a bigger front end here, but not much. You know, it's comfortable, it's classic M BMW. I don't have any complaints. Where there is a difference from the M3 is on the throttle and braking application. They are, to me, noticeably lighter in pedal resistance than the M3 CS. And that gives the M5 CS like a very playful sort of, you know, video game style pedal, which I think can be fun for easy driving, daily drivability. We talked about this. And I would say that we tend to like a more medium pressure, more resistance with more linearity and like a longer throttle mapping. And the M3CS has improved upon that in both of those respects.
So these are the carbon ceramics. They feel like typical carbon ceramics in that they bite really quickly and strongly.
Yeah.
And then you can, you know, get a lot of brake force out of them. But this pedal is quick to that bite, like most carbon ceramic systems. And the only reason why that's worth mentioning is because the M3CS with the steel brakes, at least, are very much the opposite.
Yeah.
A lot more pedal throw and a lot more modulation.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, with the throttle, all of the torque happens in the first 30-40% of the throttle, which is a very much like a street car thing.
Right.
So you don't get as much usability out of it. And I actually literally played with the throttle on the back half while at full acceleration, and you don't feel anything in the car, meaning you can move your foot like this while at full acceleration and it doesn't affect the car at all, which is kind of crazy.
They sort of tuned it to be like legitimately a street car where that's more comfortable and easy to drive, like your foot isn't working as much.
Totally.
But so it's not a bad thing for the street. It's just something we noticed for maybe if you were going to track this car. So obviously the acceleration and the braking force of this car is super impressive for its weight, but it has a bigger impact on steering and handling characteristics. So we want to show you what we found when we weighed the car, and then we'll get into steering and handling, and Griffin can finally drive this car.
All right, so BMW says this weighs 4,096 pounds.
And we do have a full tank of gas.
Full tank of gas and some fresh high-tech scales.
Yes. And stop. Yeah, but before you look at it, you're gonna cheat.
Oh, yeah. I think it's gonna be spot on to what they say, but based on how we felt driving it, I wanna say it feels heavier.
I think it's 4,200.
I think 4,200 too.
All right, get out.
Oh my God.
No way.
Wow.
That legit, no one's gonna.
200. That was not staged.
No one's gonna believe us.
That was not staged.
I know, but legit, no one's gonna believe us. 4,200 pounds.
4,200 pounds.
So, whether BMW's number is 4,100 or not, who cares?
It does not feel like a light car when you drive it.
No, this adds up.
Yeah.
Oh, what's back? Ah! Oh my God. It's fast.
Yeah. One of the things that you notice getting this car right away is like especially if you're coming from the M3 CS, steering it's really light and it's not really feedbacky. It's just that there might be enough caster or something in the car that makes it so that the steering starts to feel tighter as you go faster, which is nice because at first you're like, what the hell, this is really lazy steering, but then it tightens up and it feels really good. The M3 CS, unfortunately for the M5, does it better in every single way.
The performance part.
The performance part. It's a sharper steering ratio by a lot.
Yeah.
And there's a good amount more feedback.
A lot more.
The other thing we were noticing is that because of the cabin being a little bit quieter, because a little bit less feedback in the steering wheel, you don't feel as much of what the front wheels are doing, front tires are doing through the steering wheel.
Yeah.
So although it's really grippy and you're going through corners really comfortably at higher speeds, you're not feeling any slip in the front tires, even though it's happening. So while that might seem like cool to some people, it's not as useful on something like a track where you actually want to feel exactly what the car is doing.
Yeah.
It's not as fun and exciting either.
No. It should be noted that we have the exact same tires on both cars. Yes. We have the Pirelli P0 Corsas.
And they're both brand new.
And they're both brand new. So it is apples to apples there. Somewhat surprisingly, the M5 CS and the M3 CS have the same tire widths, front and rear. The M5 is a 20/20 left or rear and front, whereas the M3 is 20 rear, 19 front, but they have same width, 275s in front, 285s in rear. The M3 has more mechanical grip than the M5 CS, and because it's roughly 300 pounds lighter.
Even if I hadn't driven the M3 CS though, I would notice that I'd be saying, wow, for its weight, it's really impressive.
Right.
You would still have that asterisk though,
right,
because you feel its weight when you're the way that the car handles in a turn is like a really impressive heavy car. There's no other way to say it, because you do feel its weight affect its edge of grip in a way, and not that it's lacking grip. It's just that
you're getting body roll.
You're getting body roll.
You're getting noticeable body roll.
Yeah.
The suspension is stiff without being quite as compliant.
Noticeable
as the M3CS.
body roll compared to the M3.
Compared to the
not
M3.
To other cars.
Yeah. For a sedan, for the it's ridiculous for a sedan. It ousts every other sedan, as we already know. But the M3 is a 3,900 pound car that feels like it's 3,500 pounds.
Yes.
Because of the driving characteristics.
Mm-hmm.
This is a 4,200 pound car, and it feels like that.
It does.
And we were on the steering, we were wondering, does any of this have to do with the alignment that these came set up with from the factory? So we checked that as well. The M3 was 2 in the rear.
2 in the rear.
2.2 in the front. I think this is gonna be 1.6 in the rear and 1.8 in the front.
I was gonna say 1.5 in the rear. In the front, 1.8. I just feel like it could be 2.
Let's see.
Let's
see. What do you think it's gonna be, buddy? Does it say 0?
It says 0. Negative 1.8.
How about that?
Negative 1.8. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, 0. I'm getting 2.
In 2?
2.0. I think that's our final answer. 1.8 in the rear and 2 in the front.
Yeah.
Ollie, you agree? You agree?
Yeah.
Okay, great. This probably understandably has slightly less camber, slightly less aggressive track alignment than the M3, as it should. It's a luxury estate sedan. You got Alcantara on the roof on this thing, right? It should not go without saying that this is still a BMW luxury, more so than the M3 CS is a luxury.
Yeah, it's almost like this is the track version of the M5, and the M3 CS is a track version of this car.
Yes.
No matter what you think as a BMW owner, it shouldn't surprise you. It shouldn't surprise you that the M3 CS is, in a lot of ways, not in every way, but in a lot of ways, better than this car, just because it's so much newer.
Yeah, it should be.
BMW should have been and did target improving in every way.
Yeah.
So it's not really that crazy that it's better. This just gets such an impressive reputation and good words on it that, we were thinking maybe it is better.
Like a lot better.
Like a lot better.
Yeah. This is one notch more dailyable. It's bigger, it's a little more comfortable and easier to drive in the city, and it has that presence. It's a 5 Series, right? There's a lot of people that want the 5 Series, and we get that, right?
Yeah, I would say this is for the street-focused drivers who don't plan on going to the track. Although if you plan on going to the track, you can absolutely track this. It's amazing.
Yeah, it'd be wild.
But who aren't really concerned with this being their track car and want it to be understated. And honestly, it's a more handsome car.
It is more handsome.
The M3, I prefer the front end and everything. I never thought I'd say that with the grille, but it's just more fun. It's more wild. That's what I want out of like a car that I'm driving for performance. And it is more playful, even if it's more rough. If you want something more sophisticated and substantial, this is the one to get. We were not expecting this. Because of all the praise that the M5CS has gotten over the years, we thought nothing could knock it off its pedestal. And that pedestal was well deserved. Despite its weight,
See, there's that asterisk again. It's a really, really impressive sedan. It's handsome, stout, and competent. But to no surprise, the M3 CS is newer, lighter, and better in almost every single way. I guess the only confusing thing is why hasn't anyone been talking about this? Was it because the M4CSL came out around the same time and was much lighter and seemingly more impressive on paper? Or is it because there's something else going on and journalists just aren't interested? We're certainly curious to find out what the rest of the world thinks, because we think that the M3CS being faster, more playful, more fun to drive makes it safe to say, as far as M cars go, it's the better sedan. As far as performance sedans go, it's likely the best on the market.